Hyundai recently announced the pricing for the upcoming 2024 Hyundai Ioniq 6. So if you're shopping for an Ioniq 6, you might want to stay tuned because I've got good news for you. With winter fast approaching, now is the best time to purchase some all-weather floor mats from today's sponsor, Liner X. Liner X is a Maryland-based company selling high-quality, laser-measured floor mats at a great price. They're made from TPE, which is a mixture of rubber and plastic, so they offer traction and flexibility as well as strength when you need to remove them, so you're not going to dump their contents all over your floor. If you've ever owned floor mats from, say, WeatherTech, then you know those are made from a much harder material that tends to warp over time. Not with Liner X. They also feature a simple and classy looking pattern with a lip around the entire footwell so liquids won't spread around and get on your carpeting. I've been using their front and rear floor mats as well as trunk and rear seat liners for over a year now, and they've held up admirably. So these floor mats have gotten the Ioniq Guy seal of approval, and when anybody asks which floor mats to buy, I always recommend Liner X. Available on their website or Amazon through the links in the description. Hey everybody, it's the Ioniq Guy. If this is your first time to the channel, I just want to say welcome. My name is Corbin and I cover all things Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, EV related. So like I mentioned, Hyundai recently released pricing for the 2024 Ioniq 6, which is going to be its second model year, and thusly some things are going to change, but other than pricing, the 2024 Ioniq 6 is completely identical to a 2023 Ioniq 6. Now, there are still a lot of 2023 Ioniq 6s on dealer lots, but there's a reason why you might want to go for a 2024 over a 2023. So across the lineup, all the trims have dropped a minimum of $2,400, and now the base model SC standard range rear-wheel drive starts at only $37,500, which is a big price cut of $4,100. So let's move up starting from there. Both the SE rear-wheel drive as well as all-wheel drive see a price cut of $3,050. And then the SCL rear-wheel drive, SCL all-wheel drive, limited rear-wheel drive, and limited all-wheel drive all see a price cut of $2,450 across the board. So this means that the Ioniq 6 lineup starts at $37,500 and goes up to $53,650. So Hyundai is touting that some manufacturing efficiencies have led to them being able to reduce the price of the car. In my personal opinion, I think they're trying to compete directly with the Tesla Model 3 now. So they did have to cut prices to compete. The Tesla Model 3 starts at $38,990 and the Model 3 long range is $45,990. So the Ioniq 6 can still be considerably more expensive than a comparable Tesla Model 3. And even the Tesla Model 3 Performance is only $50,990. So even the Performance model is still less than the highest end. And of course, all the Teslas, at least until the end of this year, 2023, still qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit. So a Tesla Model 3 can be had for under $30,000 if you are including state incentives. My fiance's lease is going to be up for her Kona Electric in the next 6 months. So I was thinking about trading that in earlier for something else. And to be perfectly honest, I'm now kind of considering getting her an Ioniq 6 SCL all-wheel drive. And the reason for picking that trim specifically is last year's model was $51,200 and the 2024 now is $48,750, meaning that it would qualify for Connecticut's incentive of $2,250, which on top of any lease incentives that I would get when leasing this car would bring the price down even further. So one of the biggest issues I had with the Ioniq 6 is when you put it side by side with a Hyundai Ioniq 5, the pricing structure basically overlapped last year. The cars were basically the same price on the low end, same price on the high end, and I don't really know why anybody would personally pick the Ioniq 6 over the Ioniq 5 unless their only goal was super high range on the lower trims of the car. But now the Ioniq 6 is a little bit cheaper than the Ioniq 5, so I could see somebody justifying going with an Ioniq 6 over a 5 just in terms of pure cost. Now, in reference to what Hyundai said about manufacturing efficiencies allowing them to reduce the cost across the board, that doesn't really make much sense considering the fact that, for the most part, the Ioniq 5 got more expensive and lost features for the 2024 model year. And that car has been in production for 2 years longer than the Ioniq 6. So I don't really understand why the newer car has finally gotten better manufacturing efficiencies when the car that's already been made for several years does not. I just find that very strange. So yeah, we are considering getting an Ioniq 6 now. Lease deals right now for 2023 Ioniq 6s are very attractive, and we haven't really seen what they're going to be for 2024. Hyundai hasn't posted them to their offers website yet, but we should find out relatively soon because these cars are on lots now. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the low-end Ioniq 6 is probably going to be able to be leased for around $300 per month. That'll probably require a few $1,000s down. It's just nice to see that they are pricing these cars a little bit more competitively, especially with Tesla. If you haven't already heard, Ford and GM have recently announced that they are really scaling back their EV plans for the next few years. Meanwhile, Hyundai is continuing to build their massive plant down in Georgia, which should be online late next year or early 2025, making the Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 qualify for the $7,500 tax credit again, assuming they are sourcing battery materials from within the United States, but that remains to be seen at this point. It still might qualify for at least half of the federal tax credit if you do want to buy. But if you do want to lease, Hyundai does pass along the $7,500 that they get from the federal government to you as the lessee. So you can still get the $7,500 tax credit in kind of a workaround type of way. And if you don't want to lease, you can always buy out your lease immediately after signing on the dotted line, and then you can refinance or finance through Hyundai, whichever sounds more appealing to you. Now, I did recently spend a week with the Ioniq 6, so if you aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe because I'm going to have a bunch of videos coming out on my time with the Ioniq 6. And if we do end up buying one, you'll be seeing a lot more coverage of the Ioniq 6. If you need some accessories for your Ioniq 5 or your Ioniq 6 or your GV60, check out links to my stores in the description below. So anyway, guys, if you liked today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.